I want to say one thing at the top. We have grave concerns with the passage of the Anti-Homosexuality Act, AHA, by the Parliament of Uganda yesterday, and increasing violence targeting LGBTQI+ persons. If the AHA is signed into law and enacted, it would impinge upon universal human rights, jeopardize progress in the fight against HIV/AIDS, deter tourism, and invest in Uganda and damage Uganda's international reputation. The bill is one of the most extreme anti-LGBTQI+ laws in the world. Human rights are universal. No one should be attacked, imprisoned, or killed simply because of who they are or whom they love.
That was the White House Press Secretary's reaction to the anti-LGBTQ law that was recently passed by the Ugandan parliament. And you know what? I agree with everything she said. If you look at the law, gay people can be sentenced up to 20 years in prison or given the death penalty. It doesn't matter what you think about gay people. Killing someone because they are gay is very wild and primitive. However, what I want to do in this video is try to highlight how the aggressive stance of the US and other Western nations on gay rights has waned their relationship with Africa over time, and also highlight how it shows the hypocrisy of American democracy. In the meantime, kindly subscribe to my channel and give this video a like. Now, America is the world's biggest superpower, and it makes sense for any country to want to be an ally of the United States. But increasingly, over the years, the US and Africa have drifted apart. It's more interesting that US-Africa relations have waned, even though Africa is the land of unquantifiable mineral resources. With the climate change zeitgeist pushing to transition from fossil fuels to renewables, one would have expected that the US would be the largest investor in Africa to mine minerals like cobalt, which is in large deposits in countries like DR Congo. Interestingly, what you find is that China has become the biggest investor in Africa. In fact, China controls the entire supply chain of renewable minerals like cobalt in Africa. Right from exploiting poor Africans and even children to mine these minerals in horrible artisanal conditions, China is involved all the way in the processing and sale of cobalt to tech companies in the US. A few decades ago, the US would unseat the president of any African country if they had to, just to be able to control their resources. But that seems not to be happening anymore. One of the reasons I think the US has become less interested in Africa is because they now prioritize issues like climate change and gay rights over economic gains. When you think of America's foreign policy today, it's usually about those things. It's no longer about the liberation of oppressed people from tyrannical dictators or war against terrorism and corruption. Perhaps this is because the US is still being blamed for invading Libya and bringing that country into what seems like irreparable ruin. In any case, Africans do not like it when the US and other Western powers try to force gay rights on them. But this is because the average African is homophobic, all thanks to culture and religion. Most Africans practice puritanical versions of Christianity and Islam, and that alone makes them intolerant of gay people. I hate to say it, but it is what it is. So, when African governments pass anti-gay laws, it is reflective of the general sentiment of their people. In my country, Nigeria, you can spend up to 14 years in prison for committing homosexual acts. And if you sample the opinion of most Nigerians, they will probably tell you that that punishment is not harsh enough. So, what should African governments do when overwhelmingly African people are themselves homophobic? If you check the comment section of YouTube videos of some of the interviews African leaders have granted with foreign journalists who question them on gay rights, Africans agree with their leaders. For the avoidance of doubt, I should say that I am a critic of bad governance in Africa. I believe that our leaders need to be held accountable for the damage they've done to us. But the West needs to understand the complexities of anti-gay rights sentiments in Africa. It isn't that African leaders are just behaving like tyrants when they sign these laws, though most African leaders arguably are tyrants. Their stance against gay rights is a reflection of what the African culture tolerates. Also, no leader wants to sabotage their chances of re-election. Even if they personally are pro-LGBTQ, they will never publicly advocate for gay rights. If they advocated for gay rights, either that could lead to widespread rioting or a colossal loss during the next election. So, if African people are very clear that they do not want gay rights, in the spirit of democracy, why is the US constantly expressing disappointment? That comes off to African people as disingenuous and hypocritical. Democracy is supposed to be about the people, not about what the US wants or not. When it matters the most, Africans feel the US never comes to their help. But every time it is about anti-gay rights laws, the US issues statements, condemnation, and sometimes sanctions at the speed of light. That comes off to most Africans as very insincere. Africa has incredibly corrupt governments. Africa has massive insecurity problems. In my country, Nigeria, as you know, we have Boko Haram. What has the US done to help tackle these problems? So, you can see why most Africans would feel that the US is not interested in helping Africa. Gay rights, it seems, matter more to the US than helping fight poverty or insecurity, for instance. It is also hypocritical of the US to force gay rights on African countries because it wasn't long ago they themselves had gay rights. Here is an uncomfortable truth. The type of human right that exists in a country is tied to the country's level of socioeconomic development. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is an appropriate analogy here. When a country lacks the basic necessities, the last thing they want is gay rights. Africa is a poor continent, and is it any surprise that out of 54 countries, only 5 have legalized gay rights? This is also true of issues such as climate change, animal rights, and ecological conservation. The people and governments of Africa do not prioritize these things because there is bigger fish to fry. Again, the US and other Western powers did not always care about these issues also. It was a process for them. First, America had to abolish slavery, and then black people had to fight for civil rights, and then feminists fought for women's rights, and then abortion rights, and then gay rights. It's a slow and dispensational process. Of course, one could argue that Africa can simply learn from the rest of the world, but that is simply unrealistic. For Africans to begin to care about these things, they need to attain socioeconomic growth and development. On the flip side, it is ridiculous that African governments are banning gay rights. I wonder how this law will provide for Ugandans, or how it is going to fix the Ugandan economy. I understand that it was passed to cause distraction from the failure of the Ugandan government. I get the politics of that. But if the US cares so much about gay rights in Africa, then this is the wrong move. What the US should do is help fight poverty and bad governance in Africa first. The richer Africans become, the more they begin to care about things like climate change and gay rights. Otherwise, America will continue to come off to Africans as hypocritical. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel and give this video a like. Let me know what your thoughts are below. I'll see you guys in the next one.